Hey, welcome back. My name is Dino. This video is on pitching a podcast. It will go into some considerations you're going to want to have for pitching a podcast, whether you work for a newsroom or a media organization, or you're just thinking of starting one on your own. So just maybe think about that in these multiple ways, depending on what your location is within organizations that are media based or not. I want to make sure that you have the appropriate format. In short, is audio the best format for your idea? Something we want to think about is, what is the reason for telling it in audio rather than in print or in digital format? Audio has particular affordances, like what it provides you, but it also has restrictions. Why does audio make sense? For example, if you're creating a podcast as a complement to a print series, like something you add on top of it, what does the audio add to the story? From this, discover podcasts, cast your content in a new light that's appropriate for you, that makes sense for your audience, that makes sense for you and the content you have. Otherwise, maybe not. Goal-oriented. What is the goal you want to achieve with your podcast? Maybe you want to tell a meaningful story about a certain topic. Maybe you want to reach a new audience. Trying to figure out that goal. Is it topic-driven or is it audience-driven? Something that's often used in management is this idea of SMART goals. The S being specific, the M measurable, A attainable, R relevant, T time-bound. By keeping these SMART goals in mind, it's going to help you manage expectations and focus your energies on the goals that are your highest priority, because you may find that you're just really into a topic that's really you like, but you don't have an audience that likes that. If you just want to discover this topic on your own through audio, who cares about your audience? But instead, if you're looking to gain a new audience, that's really important for you, and you have a topic that is not, you find the measures for it are not backing that up, you may decide that it's not a great use of your time and energy and resources. From this, match your podcast to your stated goal. Audience driven. Pinpoint your audience. For example, if you have an existing audience, point your current readership toward your podcast with print, digital, and social channels. So say if you work at a newsroom, try to leverage that current readership for your future listenership for your podcast. Alternatively, say if you're starting out on your own and you want to have a new audience, how does the new audience differ from the one you may or may not have now? So just make sure that you consider these things. If you're looking for a new audience, obviously you're not going to use the same type of content you traditionally used, because, like, say if you have print content that appeals to a fixed audience but you want to grow it, just transferring it to audio, that's probably not going to get you a lot of new listeners or a broader audience. And then also, again, I love diversity. I think it's amazing. A lot of people say if you have a current news organization, you want to diversify your audience. But when you say diversify, it's such a broad term. When you mean diversify, do you mean reaching more people of color? Do you mean like a younger listeners, a younger demographic? Maybe you want an older demographic. Or do you want listeners who live in a particular geographic area? From those things, we're going to want to tweak your topics and your content to meet those audiences too. If you want to have diversity, make sure that the content reaches and appeals to those people from those diverse audiences. From this, you want to target your podcast to intended audiences. Differentiation from competitors is really important. You want to examine the market. Where does your podcast fit in among as many as 700,000 podcasts? And that's growing every day. You want to identify the competition. These are shows that cover the same or similar topics, have a similar mission, have a similar format. If you just basically do the same topics and have the same mission and same format as another show that's already existing, is already popular, that might not be the best way to differentiate yourself. In terms of differentiation, think about this. Compare your show's strengths, challenges, and opportunities against the others that may do similar topics or have similar missions. This will help you figure out what your main differentiator is and how you can set your show apart from what's already out there. You need to, given that there's 700,000 podcasts currently and growing, you need to differentiate your podcast from the competition. Otherwise, you're just talking into the wind. Budget conscious. Try to be realistic about how much is it going to cost to make a podcast. Say if it's weekly or serialized, like say if it's serialized on a daily basis, that's a lot of content. To you, if you're a single sole proprietor, or if you're with a friend or two, do you or your small group or your newsroom have the bandwidth and the resources to be producing a weekly show on top of the work you're already producing? Or again, if you're just starting out on your own, if you have a busy home life, busy academic life, busy professional life, what kind of bandwidth do you have to actually take on the labor that takes to create a podcast? In terms of budgeting, try to demonstrate how this podcast dovetails with your newsroom's goals and priorities and serves your audience or potentially new audiences. If you can't rationalize to your media organization that this is going to have potentially new audiences, potentially more diverse audiences, or just reaching different people, it's not like that's going to be hard for them to want to budget this money for you. Similarly, you want to make sure that whatever the costs are, if you're doing this by yourself or with a small group, that you have the resources to do it, both financial and time-wise. Ultimately, fit the podcast within your budgetary constraints. Audience focused. You need to get your show in front of your audience, whoever that audience is. Recommendations can be really useful. I find that from looking at podcasts, or seeing the way that like YouTube communities grow, where similar types of content, similar types of content purveyors and producers, they kind of cross-pollinate with each other and talk about content from other shows, and that really helps. You want to seek recommendations from podcasts your audience already listens to and whose opinions they trust, because if they like that person, they're going to want to listen to you if they think highly of your work. And you want to collaborate with similar podcasts, especially in terms of reaching audiences who are interested in the subject matter you're covering. So if you have a topic that someone else is covering and that person is recommends your podcast and you cover similar or related issues, if that person, if you collaborate with them, say if you're on their podcast or their YouTube channel, etc., that could help you. You want to try to reach out to your competitors to expand your audience. Although that, obviously that can be a bit iffy depending on what your competitive relationship with that person or group is. That is Pitching a Podcast. My name is Dino. Thanks for watching. Hopefully that's going to help you pitch a podcast either to a newsroom or to a small group of friends or colleagues to maybe take this on if that's something you're thinking of doing. Please feel free to like this video. Please feel free to comment on it about the format, about the goal-oriented nature of podcasts, about the audience-driven nature of it, how to differentiate from your competitors, how you can potentially, in a fixed environment where you may not have an infinite number of resources, how you can be budget conscious, and how you can focus on your competitors and your audience. Finally, if you like this type of video, please feel free to subscribe to this channel for similar type of content. As always, thanks for watching.